Thank you very much. Come a long way from Hampshire. Only my third ever visit to Cornwall, so looking forward to meeting you all. I'm Melvin Hartley. I'm the former Community Resilience Lead for Hampshire and Isle of Wight LOF. I'm going to be talking to you about how we harness the power of young people. I'm not going to even mention floods, so you're a bit flooding relief for the next 15 minutes. I was lucky enough in 2019 to be awarded a Churchill Fellowship, and I went off to America and Europe in 2019 and 2020 to examine the role of volunteers in disasters, and saw quite a lot of damage, quite a lot of wonderful work by volunteers, both organised and spontaneous. And one of the things I came across was the Community Emergency Response Teams, which is a national program across America, founded after the flooding in New Orleans. And CERT teams are right across America, adults, college universities, as well as teenagers within schools and outside of schools.
Mart is a small town. There's only about 2,000 people that live here. So what's unique about the CERT program here at Mart is a number of things. One, it's all teenagers. All of us are in high school. It's also taught as an actual class here. It affects our GPA. The teen CERT program is crucial to Mart because we don't have EMS, we don't have those types of first responders. Waco would be called first, and it takes them at least 30 minutes to get here. So we really are the first line of defense.
So we are going to be looking at MIs. What are MIs? Heart attack.
As the town's needs change, our studies change. Our community needs not just the CERT curriculum, but we add to that with EMT curriculum.
I don't think adults give teenagers in general enough credit for what they can and can't do. We kind of undermine what I think they're capable of. So if you teach them to rise to that expectation, they will, and they'll be able to handle it. Marlin is in Falls County, 20-30 minutes away. The water system completely failed last year. So the townspeople were without water for approximately 10 to 12 days.
We kind of just immediately jumped into action and knew exactly what to do.
The thing that they did the most was console people. It was very traumatic for the whole community. So to be there to give assistance really helped us feel like we were making a difference with some people.
We've been prepared so well that whenever we're put into these situations, we don't think about, can I do this? We do it because we've had the training and we know that we can.
What struck me is about the fact that they're all teenagers. I was back in Mart only last month, and Buffy was telling me that they've continued to develop, and their program is absolutely, they've won national awards across America. So back in Hampshire in 2017, we started to think about how we can involve young people, and Hampshire Scouts came to us in the LOF and said, what can we do to help? After they'd helped some stranded people in the snow of 2018, where they opened up a scout hut, and people were stranded overnight and were given support. Duke of Cornwall, you may remember, some of you, back in 2010, the King, the Duke of Cornwall as he was then, visited Cornwall and met a load of young people who took part in a major one-day exercise, showing how young people can actually be involved in emergency situations. And from that, the Duke of Cornwall Safety Award was created, which is available to young people aged between 5 and 18. Okay. So we created HYPER, Hampshire Young People's Emergency Response. That was named by a young person, and that involves the police cadets, the fire cadets, and Hampshire Scouts. So we're talking about 13-14-year-olds, 17-year-olds. Oops, that's changed. Oops. It's all gone funny. No. No. Nope. Nope. Nothing working. Oh, right, just changed it. Yeah. Yeah, move on to the next one. That's fine. And it's part of our community resilience work stream. We've set it up. We've started by writing our policies and procedures, and they were approved by the Local Resilience Forum in 2018. And our aim was to enable the management, support and deployment of young people, uniformed young people, to help in times of both response and recovery. And that's the most important thing. It's not just after the event, but during the event. Next slide. So how do we do it? The aim is to train leaders rather than young people. Young people are moving forward. Obviously, as they get older, they move out. And so we train the leaders in how they fit within the within the response and what they should be doing when they arrive at scene. The training is based around a 2-hour multi-agency practical in-person training session, and we go through what they will need, how they're going to be activated, how they're going to be deployed, the task risk assessment. So when they arrive at scene and they are given tasks to do, it's up to the leaders who know their young people to determine, by doing a dynamic risk assessment, to understand whether their young people can actually do it, and the decision rests with them as to whether they will actually go forward and do that task. How they're going to be deployed, communicate, leader responsibilities. And from that, you get a load of benefits. You're talking about team building, community service, problem solving, learning skills. And for young people, it's pretty exciting too. And no offense to any maths teachers, but I'm sure they'd rather be doing this than double maths, but as an example. So we put it into practice in 2019. We all met up at a massive Hampshire County Scout campsite. We put 30 young people through their bases. Next slide. 30 young people through their paces, and we were just testing how things worked. Next slide, sorry. It's not going. Yeah, so you can see some fire cadets there, and the next slide shows all the assembled people. That was 2019, and we started to work and think, right, in 2020 we set up a date to launch the thing in May 2019, and as the next slide will show, something got in the way, so it needs no explanation. So we chose another date, and then we chose another date, and eventually we settled on July 2022. Because by then, most of COVID, the pandemic, had moved on. Mostly, though, of course, people sadly are still dying today. So in 2020, we gathered again, having done lots more leader training, and we set up a whole day with 4 groups this time, including one mixed group, which we really found worked. So put in police cadets, fire cadets and scouts into the same group, and they were working together as a team. And we were well supported by the Deputy Lieutenant of Hampshire, who was chairman of the South Central Ambulance Board, who launched it for us, and we had the Chief Constable, the Chief Fire Officer and the County Commissioner present as well. And we filmed the whole day, and the film will be available. It's 7.5 minutes long, professionally produced. I will have it on my stand over there, but that's who the people were there. You can see them all took part. And we thought, we're launched, we just wait. We didn't have to wait long, because Southern Water, who are not very popular in our area, for various reasons, had a major problem just before Christmas, where 24,000 homes lost their water 2 or 3 days before Christmas. And they also had a problem at the simultaneous time over in Kent. So they didn't have enough staff to man their bottled water stations. So I was running the logistics cell. So we called up adult groups like the British Red Cross volunteers, everything else. And because it was 2 or 3 days before Christmas, we called up Hyper. And if you want to go to the next few slides, Amy, I'll just talk through them. And we manned 3 bottled water stations across Southampton, Winchester and Eastleigh. And you can see the young people there. They were so brilliant that they were told at one point at Winchester, you can go home at 9 o'clock, and they said, no, we're staying until the end, and they're still there at 10:30 working away. And these are some of the quotes that we got from members of the public who went on my LinkedIn profile where I'd posted about it, which has so far had 22,000 views, of what a fantastic initiative by these young people. Very helpfully, we got all that great publicity, and very helpfully, but not helpful for the 24,000 people, because in February half term the following year, the same thing happened with the same 24,000 houses. Southern Water really popular with them, and we did it all again. Meanwhile, the fire cadets were in a old Toys R Us shop, which was literally filled to the brim with donations for Ukraine when the invasion first started, and they spent 4 weekends solidly sorting out those donations on behalf of the community. Moving on, 2023, we had Operation Cornwall 3. We introduced some water rescue stuff as a training, not to actually, they're expecting young people to do that, but for their information. And then in 2024, we've just had a storm-based scenario for Hyper. Again, we had about 40 odd young people. So what are our plans? We now have enough leaders trained. Hampshire's a massive county like Cornwall, because you're looking at going from the bottom of the New Forest all the way up to Aldershot near Surrey. So we divided it into 4 parts, and we now have enough leaders now to dot around so that we can actually, don't expect them to travel, like 50, 60 miles to respond. And they're working as groups of leaders, cadets, for police, fire and explorer scouts. We're working on the Isle of Wight because that's part of our resilience forum. It's a different scout county, but we're still working with them, and we're just starting that process up. And we're now promoting Hyper across the UK, and I've spoken to numerous local resilience forums across the country. So in summary, young people can do things, and as Buffy said on that video, and as she said to me only a few weeks ago, young people, if they're trusted, if they're trained, and if they're led well, then they can really make a difference. And that's what we say. They're ready for quick deployment soon after an incident. They provide valuable support to the emergency services. They can be tasked and supervised by their own leaders at the scene, just like any other spontaneous volunteers and volunteer groups. And they can provide an extra resource who don't need direct management by the emergency planning authorities, but they can actually be led by their own leaders to do tasks. And we've got a whole range of tasks which we've risk assessed, which they can use, which they can do the same as any other spontaneous volunteer. I'll just finish with a quote from my final report, which will appear, hopefully, in a minute. If not, I'll just read it out. Here we go. Society is made better when people help others in their community, and volunteers can be one of those building blocks in helping to rebuild that sense of community spirit. Emergency responders need to step out from behind the ribbon, and I say this as an ex-police officer. We need to come out from, put up a ribbon and hide behind it and say, ooh, keep out, and actually embrace the fact that volunteers are a welcome, valuable and vital part of both, and this is really important, both the response and the recovery to any incident. And someone asked about Valencia. You may have seen that because of the authorities' slow response, it's been spontaneous volunteers across Valencia who have actually made the difference, as they did in Grenfell back in 2016. Thank you.